In this lick, we're going to start with some varying patterns on your index, middle, and ring, but you're hopping back and forth, keeping a really steady pulse with your thumb. So in this lick, when you have an independent thumb, one of the most important things to think about is not just trying to do the thumb part first and then incorporating the rest of the fingers. So you can tell if you start by going and then trying to throw the rest of the fingers in, it's just kind of like the jump rope's already going and you've got to jump in and try to get it without it hitting your feet. The most important thing is to actually, instead of thinking about like your thumb, if you're looking at the tab, you look at the thumb part, and then you look at the other fingers on top. Don't think about it horizontally, think about it vertically, meaning you want to line up every single musical moment at the right time. So the thumb is going to hit at the same time as these other fingers, and you want to chart each event that way. So you're actually varying back and forth, but you're focusing on putting the thumb and the fingers together. So when you think about developing an independent thumb, sometimes that can feel like, yes, put a lot of focus on your thumb, but you actually want that to work really closely and in conjunction with the other fingers. So again, as you go through this, a quick tip, just think about reading it not horizontally, vertically. The thumb lines up with each of your other fingers. So let's start here by just going and looking at what chords we're going to do. All I'm going to do here is this kind of C add 9 chord, and sometimes I'll do a little bit of like a roll like that, and it's kind of like strumming. You just go thumb, index, middle, ring. You'll have, so your thumb is going to go on the A string here, and then your index on the G, and then on the B string your middle finger, and then the third, your A, the ring finger goes on the high E. But up here you're only going to be doing your second finger and then your third finger here. And when I'm doing that, I'm going to just play one extra note with that third finger to get here, and then I'm going to grab this chord. This is a G major 9, which is just a cool, that's a cool way to play this chord. And instead of playing like, you give it a little bit more warmth if I add this in here. So I have a 9, which would be the second right here, an octave higher. That's where the first finger is doing. So then it's kind of almost like you start with a D chord, but then lift your third finger off of the B string and put that all the way down on the low E. And if this feels like it's a little bit of a weird stretch, you could certainly do your pinky. Just know that when you go back to the other chord, that might be a little bit trickier, but find what works for you. So when we have the first, the second, and the third here, now we go back to this hand, and this is kind of where it's varying back and forth. The thumb is going and it's working in conjunction with the other fingers. And so you'll notice sometimes what I did there, sometimes it's, if you don't specifically have a finger lined up for each string, sometimes you can catch a few at a time, or you have a split moment of panic where the fingers don't know where to be. So make sure that you just line up and really, really pay attention to what's happening with this hand. So when we start here, the other thing I'm doing to transition to the next chord is you'll notice that the thumb is going to grab an open D here. And when you have an open D, that allows you the split second to get to the very next one and keep the sound going. When you're playing, you want to almost think about like a relay race. You're passing the sound on to the next note without dropping it. You don't want to drop the baton, right? You want a good transfer to the next chord. And when you have an open string ringing, that allows you to do that. Now we're at this other chord, whereas if I had to keep this note, now you can hear that something drops. There's a staccato note in there. So that's just one of those little nuggets to think about in your playing. Are there opportunities where you can keep an open string ringing so that allows you to connect to the next chord without breaking the sound? Now the next thing I do is I just reach all the way up and I grab a note instead of, I'm going to actually to grab all the way up on the 5th fret. If it's too high, it doesn't matter because it still works just to do the just to do on the 3rd fret with your pinky. But if you get daring, go ahead and reach up here, and sometimes just bringing your elbow in a little bit will help you, all right? And then reach all the way up here. And the other thing to remember, you're still going to do that open string there to get to the next chord. So now we're going to try this at 120 beats per minute, just so you hear what it sounds like. 1, 2, ready, go.